A few things happened in 2019, which can maybe lead us to the current changes that are happening. On the inbound side, when you ship your products to FBA, let's say you ship 1,000 units, instead of receiving 1,000 units, they're only receiving 190 units. So 10 units are missing. Pretty straightforward. You need to reconcile that. So up to 2019, the sellers worldwide had 18 months to reconcile it.
One, two, three.
Welcome to the Smartest Amazon Seller Podcast. I am your host. I'm an Amazon seller. I'm a software developer. And one of the first tools that I built, I exited. I'm no longer in that space. But in building, which was a reimbursement service, I came to learn a lot about the landscape of like, who else is doing this? And I have with me, let me describe this guy. One, he's been doing this longer than basically anyone I know. And he's probably attended more Amazon trade shows than anyone I know. And there's actually a very big Amazon change that just is occurring. And I think it goes live in like less than a month. That makes this conversation a little bit more urgent or timely. So I have with me founder of Getida, Yoni Mazor. Hey, Yoni, welcome.
Thank you so much, Scott, for having me. A pleasure to be here.
Yeah. So Yoni is one of those guys that like, I've been to a few shows, especially as I've promoted Smart Scout over the last 3 or 4 years. He's just one of the easiest people to talk to. That's who he is. But tell me a little bit more about your background. Tell me the Getida story. If you guys have never heard of Getida, like you're living under a rock, they are one of definitely one of the strongest contenders that like have been working for helping Amazon sellers find reimbursements, find that extra money that's sitting there, and it's awesome to get big reimbursement checks. That's the service. But Yoni, like, tell us about your background. You know, the peaks and the valleys of Getida.
Getida or Yoni, because they're intertwined.
I know. That's I want both.
Okay. All right. So let's say we are today a little bit on the scope, and then we'll touch on the evolution that got us there. So like exactly like you mentioned, Getida, we're a technology company. Our mission is pretty simple, straightforward. We focus on helping Amazon sellers get the maximum FBA reimbursements that they're eligible to receive. Today, we audit tens of billions of dollars of FBA transactions every single day. We have over 200 team members in 12 countries. We're backed up by private equity. We're authorized by Amazon. So it's pretty much a global mission, global environment. It's pretty robust, and I'll say frankly, it's probably beyond my imagination when we kind of first started. Helping other sellers with Getida back in 2015.
Yeah. And I actually, it's not every day that you get to talk to someone that like, in a frame, I was a former competitor of sorts, but what you guys have showed me more than anything was like, we didn't realize how big this ocean is. I think we had like 200 clients, and then we exited it, and that was 2019. I haven't looked back. Mm-hmm. And then Getida has done such a good job of showing how big the ocean is and just being everywhere for Amazon sellers.
Yeah, thank you for that. It's kind of the part of the story. I'll try to expand a bit more on that, because there's a nuance of this industry, which was nobody realized if it is an industry, is it not, is it underground, above ground, like Amazon likes us, the whole kind of mouse thing. But for us, one of our understanding was that, listen, at the end of the day, we're not hiding from everybody. We want to do everything openly, transparently, especially in front of Amazon. So we reached out to them, we made the connection, we established it, and I think I'm proud to say that today it's kind of standardized. It's more than acceptable to obviously be a service provider in this industry.
It was relevant when they enrolled you guys in that. What do they call that? The Emerald program,
the Amazon App Store, the service provider network. So it's definitely today, not just Getida, all the other providers are included in this industry. They're embraced. They're embraced by Amazon. Amazon wants to do the right thing, and it's being standardized, meaning what's acceptable practices, what's less acceptable practices, and the ones practicing properly are the ones who are probably going to rise and shine, and the ones that are not so a compliant, I would say, get flushed away if they try to automate things and robots and stuff like that. But that's kind of a certain narrative that, when we started, we were stepping to the unknown. And I'm glad to say that, on our side and Amazon side, that everything opened up, became very transparent. We're pretty much pretty well embraced within this industry, and we're all trying to do the right thing and very professionally. So
I have to imagine when you started out, there were some like unknowns, you know.
Yeah, but when we started, it wasn't like we started with the spreadsheet saying, "Hey, let's create this business model and become this huge thing." It's actually much more organic than that. Maybe very similar to your story, where Getida was really born from our activities as Amazon sellers, really much like you, I would say,
Yeah.
so, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, in a nutshell, and the evolution is that over a decade ago we started selling online. We had our website, we had eBay, but then in 2013 we started selling on Amazon, and then the business grew very quickly from 0 to 20 million. Then to 100 million. And that was the point where we're not able to use spreadsheets anymore to reconcile all of our FBA reimbursements and discrepancies. And that really pushed us to do for ourselves two things. One, the first thing was to create software and tech to audit all the transactions at scale without breaking. And the second thing was to set up a dedicated team to constantly open cases and track and monitor all the reimbursements. And that was a full dedication because we discovered that for us on an annual basis, the discrepancy rate was between 1 to 3% from our revenue. So we were doing $1 million a year, that was 10 to 30,000 we had to recover. But we're doing 100 million, that was 1 to 3 million a year we had to recover. So we had to create an airtight solution for our needs. And what happened was, like you said earlier, we're pretty friendly, easy to talk to, stuff like that. And we like to learn a lot. So we went to conferences and we created connections within the industry. And we told our industry friends that we have these capabilities. So they knocked on our head, said, "Hey, why don't you help us? We'll pay you." And that was the early genesis of Getida back in 2015. Meaning we didn't sit up with the whole grand plan. It was like the sellers, the market was telling us, "Why don't you help us a little bit? We're happy to pay you." So that pushed us into business or creating Getida back in 2015. But over the years, it was just growing organically from word of mouth because A, was impactful, and B, the business or the value proposition is very appealing because it's purely performance based. There's no subscription. You can cancel at any time. It's free to join. It's free to stay. And only if we create value, only then we get rewarded. So that model alone, with its own merit, created organic growth for like 2-3 years. Or even 4 years. And then 2019, we made a strategic decision to cash out of retail and focus and take all of our money, focus, attention, motivation to one place instead of dividing it between retail and solution providing. Mm-hmm. I would say we kind of did in 2019 the opposite thing that you did, Scott. Yeah. You were in retail and solution provider. You cashed out of the solution and focused more on the retail. Later on, you came back to the solution providing. But for us, 2019, we actually cashed out of the retail and said, okay, let's try to focus on helping sellers worldwide. And from that point on, once we had our full attention, motivation into one place instead of being divided, I would say that's when we kind of took maybe a little bit of a leadership on this niche and placed us where we're at today in terms of scope and being, multinational, global, tens of thousands of users, all this stuff we didn't really expect it to happen, but, luckily it did.
What are some surprises along the way? So like we got some word of mouth, but like just like the actual service, some changes, some surprises, tell us what it's been like just running Getida.
So, behind the scenes, there was always a skill concern. How do you, here's what's confusing. A lot of sellers think we're just a software or a tool or something like that, but we're not. We're a solution. As a solution, we use software and tech, but we also use dedicated services. So when you log into the platform and you see all the cases that it's being open and all that stuff, it's in all that work that's being done. It's actually a whole army working on your behalf, right? But it's translating in real time to data, and that is a unique thing to do. So we actually won an award from the American Business Awards for this innovation because when you log into the platform, you think it's all automated, but it's actually a whole army working on your behalf, and it translates in real time. So that was an interesting award that we won. In addition to that, we as things became what's really happening over the years is Amazon is making it more complex. And more advanced. Same thing like advertising, same thing like legit, like anything on Amazon really becomes more sophisticated, more advanced. Same thing on the Amazon FBA reconciliation side of things. The data points constantly change, so we have to constantly adjust for that at scale because, once we have only 100 or 200 users, that's one thing. The infrastructure on the tech side or the code side, once you have tens of thousands, every little shift in the plumbing you want to have a right sandbox to test
Right.
it,
Yeah.
stuff like that.
What's an example of like moving towards more advanced?
One thing is the 2019 changes of a few things happened in 2019, which can maybe lead us to the current changes that are happening. On the inbound side, when you ship your products to FBA, let's say you ship 1,000 units, instead of receiving 1,000 units, they only receive 190 units. So 10 units are missing. Pretty straightforward. You need to reconcile that. So up to 2019, the sellers worldwide had 18 months to reconcile it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then 2019 did change. They said, no more. Instead of 18 months, in North America, you have 9 months, right? In EU and UK, you have only 6 months. So now we have to adjust our systems again and fragment it to the North America and EU. They're all both kind of the same in a way, but then we have to create all these variations on the scanning side and auditing side and reconciliation side and just this claim type. There's other claim types that had other changes, but that's just one example. So there's time changes difference that we have to, tell our machine or our algorithm, hey, stop there, or stop there, and do it on grand scale. That's one thing. Second thing was they added more layers saying, hey, and if you want to open a case for those types of issues, we need you to provide documentation. Before you didn't. You just have to kind of click a few things and they go and investigate. They find it, great. If not, there's a reimbursement. They said no more. You have to add documentation. For example, they call it, give us a proof of ownership, right? You sent 1,000 units, show us that you actually own this. So in this case, there's two options. First option is you provide an invoice. The second option is if you're a private label seller with brand registry, instead of providing an invoice, you can provide a packing slip. Okay, so these are new regulations that Amazon added in, and we have to adjust accordingly. So because now we have to handle paperwork from tens of thousands of users at scale. How do you do that? How do you streamline all of that, Scott? You got to build code, you got to build process, you got to build all these things behind the scenes, and also on the platform level, we have to add a whole inbound shipment module, so you can see all the data in real time, what documents are needed, so you can drop it for us and give it to us. That's one thing. Second thing, actually, which took us to a different extreme in a good way, is that we created a patent. We created a solution, a whole systemized solution that we actually got a US patent on it. So now it's patent, and part of our technology is patented. So basically, if you want to create a packing list for your shipments, we have a whole workflow for that with automation. So you can do that at scale. This way we can produce hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of documents for users worldwide, internally. So So in other words, instead of them handling all the paperwork, which is tough to shore, you can do a set it and forget it with Getida. You do a set and forget because of our patented technology. So it shows you a little bit on the nuances of the tech in the back end and the front end, and you tie it all together and create a situation where it's full stack solution. We can create a set and forget motion as much as possible under all the circumstances. But if not, and you have to work with us on document handling, we have also the infrastructure for that as well.
So then let's take us to
the current changes.
Yeah, the current changes. Did you guys have any advance notice? Did you see?
No, we woke up. No, nothing firm, I would say, but I can tell you in the back end that over the years we're working pretty closely with Amazon's data team and the reimbursement team, and we did mention to them that there are some claim types that it's a little bit we hear this from the sellers all the time. It's like, why do we even have to do this, the sellers, or why do you have to do it for us, Getida? Why can't Amazon just if it's all in the system, it's all in the data, why don't they just automatically reimburse us for that? So we did communicate that to Amazon. We gave them examples that they called VOC, voice of the customer. So this is not official or anything like that, but it could be that they took some parts of this interaction engagement to their consideration and announced the changes. And here are the changes. I'll try to simplify it because it's a lot of words. It's Amazonian words, but to simplify it to simple English is the following. So there are 3 claim types out of 30 that we look into. So once again, 3 out of 30. So it's not the whole farm, just parts of it. And these 3 claim types, one of them is lost warehouse, the other one is damaged warehouse, and the other one is pretty much the return or removals. Okay, let's bundle it to make it simple. So 3 out of 30. Out of the 3, really one is the most material one. It's the lost warehouses. That's like the most material one that is worth pretty much the most money in terms of impact to the seller. So we'll hone in just on that because it simplified the whole environment. So they're saying for this claim type, what we're gonna do 2 things. First thing, we're gonna try. We already automate the reimbursement for it, and you need to audit us. But we're gonna try to improve the automation. That goes to back what I was saying that we're trying to tell Amazon. Maybe you can improve the automation, like so the sellers don't have to open as many cases. In any case, they said, okay, we're automating it, but we're gonna try to improve it a little bit. That's one thing we'll do. But on the flip side, so we're gonna do something for you. But on the flip side, now you have less time to file a claim. If you had 18 months. Now you're going to have only 2 months to go back. So in this change will take place, there's a deadline, October 23rd. So if you're watching this or listening to this on time, you have until October 23rd to get all this tail of refunds for lost and damaged warehouse from the past 18 months. Before October 3rd, you're only going to be able to go back 2 months. So if I have to put into numbers, I'll put it this way, Scott. Let's say you do $1 million on FBA, and the loss and damage warehouse discrepancy is worth 1% from your revenue. That's, let's say, $10,000. So right now you owe $10,000. By October 23rd, if Amazon is dropping 90% of the time allocated and available for you to file a claim, that $10,000, theoretically speaking, for this formula is going to be chopped by 90%. So you're only going to be able to recover $1,000 out of the $10,000. So you might be leaving behind $9,000 if you don't clean up your past 18 months on time. That's why there's a little bit of a sense of urgency. If you're already using Getida, you're covered. You're going to transition into this all nice and clean. If you have never used anybody or you never did with your own team and you're coming to this and you're listening to this, my warmest recommendation is clean the past 18 months. So once the deadline changes, you're going to be in best position with cash flow. Yeah.
I think you mentioned the deadline change in 2019. There's a deadline change this year. I think there's been at least one other one. The FBA fee.
We'll get to that. Yeah. So a few things. So you asked me earlier if there was a heads up. So there were hints, but no heads up to us specifically, Getida. But there's definitely a heads up for the sellers. They're giving 90 days because they announced it's July 24th, and they're saying the deadline is October 23rd. So that's 90 days.
Yeah.
That's an improvement because 2019, when they made the changes, there was no notification. You just wake up in the morning, inbound is chopped to 9 months here and 6 months there. And how do you figure that out? Because you open cases that are, let's say, 10 months old. They say, no, you cannot open for 10 months. It's 9 months right now. So you learn as you open cases, which is not the best way to learn and adjust. Let's put it this way. Yeah. But that's what happened. That's on the inbound side. At the same year, they also changed what we call the pick and pack or fulfillment fee overcharges.
Yes.
So, Amazon charges fulfillment fees based on the weight and dimension of the product. So the larger and heavier their system thinks the product is, the more they're going to charge you fees incorrectly. That's the premise. Yeah. So, so up to 2019, you had 18 months. You could go back and get a recovery. And then one day out of the blue, it's on all marketplaces will drop to 90 days, 3 months. And back then, when we asked Amazon, how come, what's going on, what's the logic behind it? They said, listen, at the end of the day, we don't want to compensate you for the past 18 months because we see that some of the sellers, they have seasonal packaging. You change your packaging, you have maybe a Christmas version, you have a summer version, so it's not always the same weight and dimensions. So it could be you have larger or smaller. So we take it quarter by quarter. The most we're going to go back in recovery will be a quarter. That was their logic back then. And then now this kind of leads to the next question is that what's going on with all these Amazon logics and timeframes? What's the logic behind it? What's the story? So, because the past few weeks since this update happened, I get this question, been asked around. So here's my take on it. I cannot obviously officially answer for Amazon, but here's what I can say with a historical retrospective. So back in the day when Amazon created the FBA program, this is like 2006, 7, something like that, early. So they said, okay, this is a new program. We want to bring as many sellers as we can to adapt and try this program out. There's going to be all these issues with it. So it's all pretty new to us, pretty new to them. Let's just arbitrarily give 18 months. It's a year and a half to look back and kind of deal with all the trouble. That was early days. And then when they're really more focused on ramping it up and bringing, sellers and have a body to actually use this and deal with all the trouble later. So all the type of claim types, they created arbitrarily 18 months, which between me, you, and I, we can agree that it's very generous. A year and a half, it's a lot of time. It's pretty generous. It's pretty nice.
Yeah.
So what happened was over the years, they started to kind of identify most, if not all, the types of issues that happen, sellers as well, and they both professionalized and standardized it, and they can already know what to expect and everything like that. So slowly but surely, there's a trend saying, okay, now that we know what's going on, we don't have all the time in the world for to deal with this. We'll give shorter time frames so everybody can professionally address this in shorter time frames because we have bigger things to worry about. We have AWD, Amazon Warehouse Distribution, we have Amazon Global Logistics, we have Shin, all these things around us that we really want to prioritize instead of kind of keeping our resources and a team available for 18 months for all these issues that we can probably solve it earlier if the sellers are more professionalized and can do this on time. Or alternatively, there are solution providers, professional ones in the market that you can partner with if you cannot adjust this on time. Getida happens to be one of them. So now there's an ecosystem of us, other solution providers that can help you always do this on time. Because for us, it doesn't matter if there's 18 months or 2 months. We're like a Rolex. That's our fiduciary duty to always deliver to you the impact on time. And we'll make the adjustments because we don't have any other distractions. So you have the option in the marketplace to partner with us. We streamline all the work with Amazon. It's one less thing for you to worry about, and there's plenty to worry about. So that's a little bit of an evolution, historical perspective from my angle, not officially from Amazon, on why 18 months and why all of a sudden this is like that, and all these changes that they're making currently.
So did we finish with the types of changes that are happening in 2024? Sorry, like next month?
For the most part, yeah. To make long story short, loss and damage instead of 18 months, October 23rd, you're gonna have 2 months. My warmest recommendation: clean it up so you're gonna have your cash in your pocket instead of being lost. Yeah.
The thing is, even when there's like
by the way, this is only for North America. This does not which is big. It's a big market.
Yeah.
This does not include Europe, EU, or AU or anything like that. Yeah.
The thing is like the same. I think there's a similar urgency even for people. Like there was already an urgency because there was a cutoff. You know what I mean? If you've been selling for more than 18 months, and most solid sellers have, like, you were sunsetting a part of your reimbursements,
available cash.
And so it's not new to be able to like lose these if you're not actively investigating them. Okay, now
I want to add to that, and what you're saying in other words is that, if 18 months was not enough for some of the sellers to handle this on time, you can bet your life that 2 months is definitely not enough. Is that what you're saying? In other words?
Kind of, yeah.
Okay, so we're happy to help if needed, yeah.
What I'm also saying is that, I figured this out. Like, I started selling in 2013. We started implementing this.
Same year. I'm telling you, we're like evil twins or something.
We started implementing this stuff like 2017 in earnest, and I'm like, we lost a lot in 13, 14, and 15 of not getting reimbursed. So I want to
add to my story on that. So here's a quite difference between both of us. I mean, yeah, if you did it, you started 213, you start handling 217, you left money on the table for sure.
Yeah,
like you said. But for me, the story was in such a way where, we started FBM actually, fulfilled by merchant, and then, we were scrappy. We were just kind of building out the business, and then we realized there's an FBA program, and then we said, no, let's give it a shot, and we sent $10,000 worth of units into FBA, and for us back then, $10,000 was like $10 billion. That's everything we had. And we're like, and today's not, back then it's not like it is today. Like Amazon, everybody trusts Amazon. 2013, Amazon was like up and coming. eBay was the main arena and stuff like that. So we're like, okay, if we're gonna ship our inventory, our life savings to your hands, what we did before we shipped it in, we said, what's your policy? If something happens to this, we want to know what the hell is going on. So we call them. They said, go to this page and that page. We were very, very granular on their policy because we're very fair on our own cash and our own investment, all that stuff. So even before we shipped it in, we did our due diligence. We looked into that. We shipped our products in, and lo and behold, there was 116 units. They only received 113, so 3 were missing. We reached out. We opened a case. They handled it. They gave us the reimbursement, and we were much, much more at ease. And that gave us a lot of the confidence to stop doubling down and really, bursting the lid off the Amazon FBA business, because that, cardinal trust in FBA, which everybody today takes for granted. But for us, day one, it was a concern. We constantly audited for the shipments, and then once the units were in the warehouse, we were auditing for that. We were auditing everything. I don't know what it was, but I'm not a typical auditor in life. I'm not that hard knock, like you said. Like earlier, I'm pretty friendly and outgoing, but when it came to the business, I was very religious on where is this all going, what's happening, if there's any down issue, we need to make sure it's covered. So we were very good at that for our business, and later on I realized coming to the market that it's very helpful also for other business. So that's a little bit of a nuanced difference between our strategy.
You guys have thousands of brands and sellers. You're seeing their data. Are there any surprises just like in the aggregate of Amazon data? I'm not sure if you guys look into things outside of like what's relevant to reimbursements, but like, let me give an example. Like, return rates in some categories, maybe they're through the roof, or maybe even some seasonality where like one type of reimbursement just like takes off for just like a few months.
So we used to be like 2019, 2020. We used to be more into that. We actually in the platform we have more statistics about that, but we saw over time there's not too much consistency because the ultimate reality is that every ASIN has its own life. There's no consistency. I can't tell you like the watches are like this and towels are like that. It's because every ASIN is different, every supplier is different, every factory is different, every fulfillment center is different in every country. So there's so much like so many variables. It's hard to make sense of it in a way that actually was helpful for the sellers. So I'll put it this way:
I could agree that like it's not
it's
really,
all over the place. But what we
it's not really
do know
helpful. It's not like data you can act on.
Yeah, you're not going to stop selling towels. You know, if you have a bit more discrepancy than others, especially if you have a solution that just covers you on that. Because if you went to the market, you used the tools, you did market research, niche, demand, keywords. There's so much around it, right? That typically I never seen it really change the decision to get out of the category or product because of the discrepancies, especially if you got reimbursed for them. If you got reimbursed for them, you're whole. Why were you whole? By the way, this is the key thing. Actually, is climactic. The beautiful thing about reimbursements is, guys, if you're listening to this, is that Amazon pays you retail value. They don't pay you cost value. So by getting all your reimbursements, you're shifting from a double negative to a double positive, where you're getting your money back, the money invested into the product, your cost of goods, and you're making profits. For example, if your cost of goods is $5 all in, and you want to sell it on Amazon for $30, and Amazon lost it or damaged it or whatever, they're going to pay you $30. So you're going to get that $5 back plus a $25 profit margin. So as if you sold it on Amazon, basically minus all the fees that they have. So that's what makes it really powerful for anybody. And if you have a good solution for that, it doesn't matter for you if this warehouse messes more or this ASIN messes more. As long as you get it back, you're good because you sold it.
Have you guys ever looked into click fraud?
What's that?
Advertising click fraud.
Oh yeah. So over the years we got sellers reaching out to us. We did some case studies, and we've seen how basically sometimes let's say you put the bid on 51 cents, right? And for a few good days or weeks, instead of stopping at 51 cents, they went all the way to 69 cents, right? And they charge you a couple $100 or a couple $1,000 extra because the system really didn't stop the bid roof on time. So sellers, who found that, they reported to us. We looked into it. Amazon made them whole. They credited them, but we didn't really see it, again and again on a massive scale. Not as consistent, I would say.
What
as
about
FBA
the thing is I'm not sure if you're given enough data on to do this. I do know that someone could set up like a robot farm and just like start clicking at competitors' ads.
That's what I think Amazon has internally. That's why I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it takes about 3 to 4 days for Amazon system to really finalize on all that stuff and take that noise away. Yeah.
I personally think that I'd love to see a bit more clarity on that, but I see why it'd be complicated for them because,
it's scraping because the one who actually is doing it, a bot that's going and clicking all these ads, probably scraping because there's no back end for the front end Amazon, right?
But a motivated black hat person can do some damage here.
Oh yeah, big time.
And
you're in the hands of Amazon. Amazon has probably systems in place, but I'm sure there's abuse. I'm sure. There's a certain discrepancy rate or a percentage of abuse.
I would love for your guys' service to be able to venture out into that territory.
That would be a dream. Yeah, that would be a dream. Yeah,
I don't think it's currently possible, but it's just the type of auditing that kind of actually builds more trust. You know what I mean?
Yeah, guardrails. So you trust. That's the beautiful thing about Amazon today. We see how they really understands that sellers trust them with hundreds of billions of dollars of inventory. Why? Because if you send $1 million in and has an issue, they'll take care of you. Yeah. If it's loss, damage, all that stuff. So that is fundamental for their North Star. Their North Star, let's remind everybody, is the consumer. And what do they want for the consumer? Selection, competitive pricing, and fast delivery. And FBA enables all of that at scale. So they want to preserve that integrity, and they'll take care of you. You just have to do it the right way and the right time frames allowed, and you'll be all right.
So what's in your future? What's in Getida's future? What's in Yoni's future?
So, like I mentioned earlier, about 2 years ago, we partnered with, a large private equity group. So today we're actually part of a larger corporation. So we're just actually one business unit out of 7 for, a corporation called SIB Group. And we focus on the Amazon FBA side of things. but we also have other business units that kind of do what we do, but in other verticals. So we have shipware that helps with carrier auditing, UPS, FedEx, DHL, same thing, but also 3PL, fulfillment centers that you work with, which are not Amazon, rates, stuff like that. They can help with that. But to be honest, we deal with more enterprise level clients there. For example, like if you go on the website, you'll see the Marriott as a client, Walmart as a client, right? We help them with stuff like that. But we also have business units that help you with telephone bills, right? Verizon, all these guys, T-Mobile. We have also what else do we have there? Electricity bills.
They
do the same thing we do like Getida. We process all this data to see if there's any discrepancies on the billing, on the charge, anything like that. So we get you recoveries and refunds, and negotiate better rates. So on the data set, we know that there's better rates available. So we'll reach out to those providers and say, hey, give us a better rate. So we do cost reduction. So we also have waste management for hotels, for example. That's a big industry behind the scenes. So all the plumbings of industries, we have the FBA side that most Amazon sellers definitely understand that it's a plumbing component of the business. It's not, you don't open a brand just to deal with logistics. You open a brand to sell it, and what facilitates it, enables it, the plumbing that enables it is the logistics and FBA behind it. So the thesis for us was that we're all business units that kind of have the same ethos of processing data and extracting value out of the data for cost reduction or recoveries, and it's all performance based, all the business units. So only if we provide value, only then we get rewarded. So for us, it made sense. So it gave us, better abilities to work with, enterprise level, companies, world class companies, and bring a lot of value out there. So I think the next reason we're going to try to, we already find that some of the brands that we serve Getida, they're huge multinational brands, public companies, and we can then cross-pollinate and help them with other verticals, with our business, other business units. So that's exciting. I'm going to probably try to facilitate a bit more in that world. It's a bit more corporate-y, more less, for me, the Amazon FBA side, it's really cool because it's the micropreneur, street level, the scrappy, fast acting dynamic, which I was and brought me to a lot of financial success in life. Here, I'm going to explore a bit more of the bund up corporate, but to see if we can disrupt in a good way those environments and add more value there in an exciting way. Because between you and me and everybody listening, we took to something that is really, really boring and really not sexy, which is reconciliation, auditing, discrepancies. It's not sexy. It's not it's not the first thing you want to do. You wake up in the morning. If you're selling Amazon, you want to source, launch, brand, and we made this sexy. We made this. Listen, guys, this is the most boring thing you can think of, but at the end of the day, you extract all this cash and value, bring it back to your business, you reinvest in the business. That's sexy. And then you can launch more products, advertise more.
Well, I guess, I think there's a counter narrative to follow your passion. The counter narrative that I like is if you get really good at something that actually provides value to other people, you start to get passionate about it.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So I don't really care if a business is sexy or not. If you do it better than anyone else and you continuously improve,
and you compound your ability to deliver more and more value, and it's tangible, then you really get some mileage in business and life.
Yeah. Well, so if Yoni, thank you so much for coming on the pod. If people haven't been using a service like this, now's a great time. Getida, you have an offer available for people that listen to the pod. What did we land at? Smart 400?
Yeah. So if you want, not only that it's free to join, free to stay, we'll give you $400 free reimbursement just so you can try us out, see how it feels. So visit Getida.com/smart400. So once again, it's like a radio. Getida.com/smart400. Smart is for the smallest seller and the smartest seller in the room, this podcast. So thank you for having us, and it's been a pleasure.
Hey, Yoni, it's been so great just to catch up with you, get you on the pod finally, and just to talk about this little thing that it's kind of like a seller's hygiene. They just need to know about it. Well, that makes up this week's episode. Thanks everyone for listening, and we'll catch you on the next one. Take care.
1, 2, 3.